actually here tonight, and I'm going to introduce them to you right now. See anybody you know up there with a strange haircut that was done with a flow bead?
Wow.
And if you didn't know I was a homosexual now, really there. My brother and I are both adopted. One. We're both adopted from different families. Two. Anybody want to take a shot at number three? What was that? We are both gay.
Wow.
Wow, did my parents hit the lotto on that one. We found out at an early age that standing up for ourselves was hard to do if we didn't know who we were. And if you don't have good self-esteem and you're not standing up for yourselves, if we didn't do it, other people did it for us. Dyke, faggot, fatso, slut were often words that were slung around. And if you don't know what your legacy is, what your community is, where you fit in, those words are said a lot. And again, it's the brainwashing, and you heard those. As a young child, I was a chunky kid, or as my mother would say, just, you know, he just likes his food a little bit. I heard, you know, mostly from my brother, who was kind of the bully in our family. I would hear mostly from my brother, but I had a plan when I was a child that if I could make the people that were going to harass me laugh, then I didn't have to worry about anything. So I became the class clown in a literal sense.
First time that I've been in Cambridge, so close to Harvard, my friends thought, when I said I was coming to Cambridge, they're like, oh my God, you're going to Harvard, really? You know, I'm going to Lesley University, it's just as good, right? You find your first sense of community when you go to a college. You find like-minded people, and it's great. Like all of you that are involved in a sport and you have your teams, you find like-minded people that you can share your qualities about, what you're going to work on, your game, things like that. Same goes for the LGBT community because they find their sense of community, like all of you do as well.
I think probably the first time I ever saw bullying occur was when I was in high school. I was a junior in high school and taking a health class. And I may have shared that with some folks yesterday when we were all out. There was a young kid named Richard in my class, and he had kind of a squeaky voice. It was kind of his own thing, but his voice had changed, but it hadn't. And everybody made fun of him all the time. They mocked him. And he was in the health class, along with a bunch of football players, and our teacher was the head coach for the football team. And so we were covering this section. We were probably like maybe 2 weeks into the school year or more, and they started talking about how to do bandages. So if somebody broke their leg or their arm, or you know, you had a sprain, they had gauze, you know, in there, and he had a lot of it. And he goes, Richard, come on up here in the front of the class. They wrapped Richard up like a mummy in front of the entire class. And the football players in that class said, you do not move out of your seat. They wrapped Richard up in gauze like a mummy. Bell rings. And to make it even worse on this kid, what do? They lay him down in front of the door, they open the door, and the coach, health teacher, required all of us to step over him if he wanted to leave the room. Who in the hell does that? So everybody walked out. I was the last one, and I refused to step over the body. And he goes, Greg Baird, I know your father downtown at the hardware store. I'm going to tell him that you're uncooperative in class. And I could not believe an adult, a teacher, would tell me that. And I said, really? And I grabbed Richard's feet, and I moved him aside, and I walked out. I was writing a column at the Tri-City Times, my local paper, called, don't laugh, Clowning Around. And I did movie reviews and different things, and I said, I'm going to write about this and put it in the paper. And I did. Paper came out, and my parents were going through a divorce at the time, and my mom said, there's a man at the door that says he's your teacher. And this is the day the paper came out. And so I was downstairs in the basement, I heard, you know, he was coming downstairs, and it was the teacher, and he goes, I read your article today, and he goes, so did all the administrators at the school. Really? And he goes, I'm kind of wondering if you could maybe write something else or just talk to the principal. And say to him that, you know, it wasn't all that serious. You know, it was just a little fun between kids. I'm like, no, I saw what I saw. He goes, do you like my class? I said, yeah, it's okay. He goes, do you want a good grade in my class? And I go, of course I do. And he goes, well, I didn't do anything to change anything. I left it as is.
Yeah.
That was the first time, and I just remember that probably a few months ago. I got to be in the class, I didn't finish. When I started, what is your legacy going to be, and what kind of community do you want to live in? Because that's really important. And there's been a lot of things in this particular community and many others of bigotry or not liking somebody because they're gay or they look different or what they believe in. And for me, if you can't celebrate your life and who you are and be a friend to somebody, you're living in an unhealthy community. And you need to celebrate everybody and what they bring to the table.
So my mom, to encourage us more to play the piano, she thought, this is my first concert ever, you're going to love this. She said, all right, I have tickets to go to Port Huron, Michigan, and we're boys are going to go see Liberace. You wonder why I'm gay. And I didn't know anything about the whole gay thing. I just thought that Liberace was a little flamboyant and I knew why he wore like mink stoles and stuff. So I wasn't keen about it. We went, saw Liberace, but the coolest part of the whole show, he came out in this lit up coat. It had all Christmas tree lights on it when they turned the lights off. And as a kid who is very creative and kind of discovering himself, my eyes went like that. And I thought, that is the coolest thing ever. So, I couldn't get it off my mind. You know, we're driving home, the window's down, I'm gazing out the window, and, you know, I've been, in, you know, on the drum, like, oh my God, Liberace in that lit up coat. So, my mother, that Saturday, went to go do her grocery shopping, and I went into my father's closet and pulled out a suit coat, and I went down, my father owned a hardware store, by the way. Got a suit coat, went downstairs with a knife, pair of scissors, and our Christmas tree lights. And I strung those bad boys through and hot glued, and I thought, this is going to be my best show and tell ever. So my mom came home, they were having a bridge party the next Saturday, so a week later. You know, where they play cards. Some of you young people don't know you? Okay. So they were going to have a bridge party, about 20, 25 people in the living room, and my mom always bought my brother and I Coca-Cola, London's chip dip, and chips. And we were sent into the TV room, and I thought, I am going to come out with that coat during the bridge party. So I'd gone into the garage, I took all my dad's extension cords from the hardware store, because, you know, we don't have all the LED fancy crap, you know, where you just plug in a little battery. So I was strung in like I had this long umbilical cord, and I walked down the hallway, I had the coat on, boom, it was lit up, it looked like the coolest in the world, they were playing cards and laughing, having a few cigarettes, having some beer. I came out, being the cute little gay boy I was, and I went, ta-da! And my dad looked over at me and said, well, you're the one who wanted him to play piano. And I could tell you years after that, when I came out to my parents, that's one thing she goes, I just knew it was the whole Liberace thing.
I always told my parents I wanted to be an actor. And my dad said, you need to choose something else. And I said, well, why is that? Well, you need to make some money. I'm like, okay. So my parents, in dealing with my self-esteem at the time, always told me what they wanted me to do. And I was unsure exactly what it was, or trying to figure it out. And they didn't give me an opportunity to let me know who I was, or a voice to figure it out. And of course, coming out as a gay son was not in the plan of things, and it threw their dreams away, but it didn't throw my dreams away.